This One's Wife, Netflix, Carnage. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Yesterday, With Love Meghan Holiday Special was released. I endured this episode to enable you to receive my humorous observations about its content, whilst providing you with insight with regard to the, as ever, prevalent narcissism of this one's wife. I found it deadly dull. Nevertheless, what's the opinion of other people in relation to the programme? Well, The Telegraph ran with the headline, "This One's Wife's Christmas special is quite mad and a little bit sad. The Duchess prepares for the festive season with her usual manic intensity and finally lets dear old Harry out of the pantry." Let's take a quotation, and one section of the review tells us, "Two of this one's wife's friends come over for a pajama party, which I did not realise was a thing past the age of 12. This is the most insufferable section. Osaka is press-ganged into decorating a plate for her daughter, and when she mentions in a moment of honesty that she has no time to relax at home because she has a young child to run after, this one's wife says, 'But that's the good kind of non-relaxation, right? The stuff that is soul-filling and amazing.' 'Yeah,' murmurs Osaka, her soul visibly draining from her body." The Guardian, which is normally anti-royal family and therefore would be more likely to be supportive of this one's wife, as it once was when she left the royal family, clearly is sick of her. Their headline reads, "With Love Meghan Holiday Celebration Review. Take anti-nausea pills. She's back." A choice part from the review: "Naomi Osaka, the tennis player and this one's wife's first celebrity, is like a cool plunge bath after an overheated sauna. I've never seen anyone more desperate to get home. She spends most of the holidays not relaxing but chasing after my daughter. But that is so soul-filling," says this one's wife, squeezing her eyes shut. Naomi looks at her in polite bemusement. She paints a plate very badly and leaves. I pledge undying allegiance to her. The Spectator's headline, "This One's Wife's Netflix Christmas Special is unendurable." Alexander Larman writes, "On the Live Aid charity single Do They Know It's Christmas, Bono sings the somewhat incongruous line, 'Well, tonight, thank God it's them, instead of you.' Although he is referring to starving children dying in poverty rather than well-heeled Americans appearing on television. Much the same sentiment applies to unfortunate special guests who have been corralled into the latest, and presumably last, unless the ratings pick up dramatically, episode of With Love Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex's Netflix-funded wallow in self-regard and vanity." The Standard reports, "I think this one's wife's team were trolling her with this insane holiday special. Absolutely do not try any of these crafts or recipes at home unless you also want to have a nervous breakdown." It's hardly scintillating stuff, but Netflix has really hit its stride with this special episode of With Love Meghan. They are really, leaning the frantic energy of its star trying to crack puns without splashing hot oil or butter down her pristine cashmere sweaters. Honestly, the production team must be trolling this one's wife here with increasingly bizarre and elaborate setups for her to impart hosting hacks. In fact, are they really hacks? They would make anyone actually hosting Christmas for a big group have a nervous breakdown before the canapes were served. The Independent leads with the headline, "With Love Meghan Holiday Celebration Review. Not fun, enjoyable, or even aspirational. None of us mere mortals will ever have a Christmas like this, but we can endure this one's wife's Netflix special as numbing content in the background of our holiday season. This programme might be your seasonal meditation. It's not a real special by any stretch, but some YouTube content or the radio that you might put on in the background as you do your tree or wrap your presents. White noise to dull the senses. It's all a little Stepford Wives, but it's not informative, fun, enjoyable, or even aspirational, because the people watching this, including me, will never have a Christmas like this." Cosmopolitan often found to be supportive of This One's Wife, runs with "This editing error reveals when This One's Wife's Netflix holiday special was actually filmed." And then the entire article is about the fact that This One's Wife places a tribute on the tree to Guy the Beagle, yet he's then seen wandering around in the footage, and thus this is an editing error. The article doesn't tell us anything about the programme other than that, which presumably is Cosmopolitan's way of getting out of actually passing opinion about it. Vogue runs with the headline, "I know nothing about This One's Wife. Here are my thoughts on With Love Meghan holiday celebration as a first-time viewer." The episode begins with This One's Wife offering tips on how to string lights on a Christmas tree. "When I string the lights on a tree, I do it inside, so it's lit from within," she says, smiling at her towering tree, which is adorned in dry fig slices. Okay, after this she explains how she makes advent calendars for her kids made from cloth. In lieu of chocolate, she writes notes such as, "I love you because you're so brave." "I don't have children, but I try to imagine how I would have felt if my mother had done such a thing. Confused, probably, but hey, we can't knock sustainable alternatives to festive traditions." Hardly ringing endorsements and a quick scurry through other headlines tell us on AOL, "With Love Meghan holiday celebration review not fun, enjoyable, or even aspirational." The Irish Times, "This One's Wife's holiday special review. The reek of forced fun is ever present. Even Harry looks embarrassed." The Washington Post, "This can't be the future This One's Wife envisioned." HuffPost UK, "Critics are all saying the same thing about This One's Wife's festive Netflix special." 9 Honey, "This One's Wife presents the most unfestive feeling Christmas special ever. But there's one saving grace, Prince Harry." New York Post, "Prince Harry insults This One's Wife's cooking to her face during Netflix Christmas special." Yahoo News, "Prince Harry makes brief appearance in This One's Wife's Netflix holiday special to roast her cooking." The Times, "With Love Meghan review. Is the Sussex Christmas crackers?" GB News, "This One's Wife suffers fresh Netflix blow as her Christmas special is panned." People.com, "This One's Wife and Prince Harry share a festive kiss in trailer for Netflix holiday special." St. Albans and Harpenden Review, yes, getting pretty niche now. "This One's Wife's Christmas cracker love letter to Harry as holiday special hits Netflix." A selection of the headlines there, and without exception, they are critical, with one or two at best fairly neutral. What does this tell us? Well, what we already knew. The programme's awful. But for This One's Wife, this is problematic. Because as a narcissist, she wants the mainstream media and those on social media to lavish praise upon her. She doesn't know why she needs this, but this is the fuel. This is the fuel that is the lifeblood of the narcissist. And she requires this admiration, this praise, this approval, because it then shows that people are under her control and they're providing with the life-affirming fuel. It is hugely important to her. Instead, what she gets is jet after jet of challenge fuel. She's still being spoken about, so that's good, but the problem is it's critical, and therefore that threatens her innate need for control. Naturally, she will be looking at the headlines because her narcissism will drive her to do so. Some narcissists, more sophisticated and elevated, will simply rise above them and not take any interest in them. But for a mid-range narcissist such as This One's Wife, she needs to know what people are saying about her. And that's why, and she has plenty of time to do it, she trawls through social media and looks at what mainstream media is saying. The fact is that she will see headline after headline, querying the effectiveness of the show, reporting about the fact that basically it was rubbish, and in some instances saying that actually Harry was the saving grace with his cameo appearance, which of course will not be something that she will approve of because it's sending praise to somebody else and not her. It all amounts to her seething with rage as a consequence of the failure in her world of these outlets to recognise that she is special, brilliant and talented. Her narcissism will, as ever, deal with it for her, and will tell her that this is just the rantings of an evil, racist British media. That the American ones, well, they didn't quite get it, and it didn't hit the mark because, well, the crew didn't do what she wanted. Of course, you see her toasting the crew in the episode, so you would think, well, presumably, if she's that pleased with them and has toasted them in the way that she did, they must have done a good job. Well, she'll have thought that at the time, and it would have behooved her to do this for the purposes of facade management. Look at me, see how relatable I am, and kind. I'm thanking all of the crew. But with the compartmentalisation of the narcissist, when the show is panned, she needs to find a scapegoat. And the crew is an obvious one. They didn't film it properly. They didn't listen to my direction, even though she's not the director. They didn't do it quite how I wanted to. They didn't take on board my ideas, even though we all know that they would have had to have taken on her ideas, otherwise she would have been stamping a cloven foot. Ultimately, her narcissism will ride to her defence as it always does, and as you know, that's why she keeps on failing, because she never learns, she never self-reflects, and she is innately untalented, lacking charisma, lacking a sense of humour, and lots of people don't like her. It's carnage in terms of the critical outcome, and Netflix really ought to be having its own inquiry as to why on earth they hired this fuckwit in the first place. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.